Thebes became one of antiquity's greatest cities under the rule of the Nubian gods' wives, and the Egyptian empire reached new heights. But by the middle of the 6th century BC, while Thebes thrived, weak male pharaohs in the north exposed the country to invasion. The Assyrians overran the country in direct retaliation for Egypt's armed opposition of their attack on Jerusalem. Eventually, the Syrian and Lebanese empires' forces made their way south, surrounding the gates of Thebes.
After several unsuccessful attempts, the Assyrians finally entered Thebes. According to the historical records of the Assyrians, it was a tremendous sack of the city. They burned the huge wooden doors that stood in the temple entryways. They took away the gold statues that stood in the sanctuaries. And according to the Assyrian king, he made the Egyptians feel his weapons bitterly. The sack and devastation of Thebes was the end of the greatest city in the ancient world.
Thebes was reduced to a sand-swept ghost town. And for the following 500 years, the privileged status of Egyptian women was largely ignored by a succession of foreign rulers. The power and legend of the gods' wives were plunged into obscurity. Then, in 50 BC, an 18-year-old Macedonian Greek inherited the Egyptian throne from her father, Ptolemy XII. Her name was Cleopatra. Cleopatra VII is now remembered more as a mythical creation than as a real woman. Generations have chosen to portray only part of her story, that of a woman with an insatiable appetite for love and power. But another dimension of her reign has become clear. She was a capable ruler and a brilliant stateswoman. Cleopatra resurrected the power of women, employing all the weapons of her predecessors, politics, religion, and seduction, to achieve supreme power over Egypt and almost the whole world. As the master manipulator of her own image, Cleopatra bolstered her prestige internationally. First, she reinforced her ties to Alexander the Great and the Greeks by presenting herself in classic Hellenic style. Later, to impress the Romans, she struck coins that represented her looking like a Caesar. To win the hearts of her people, Cleopatra assumed the image of the goddess Isis, known as the Divine Mother. She was the first ruler in more than 500 years to speak the Egyptian language. And at the Luxor temple, in the tradition of the gods' wives before her, she made offerings directly to the sun god Amun, once again fusing religion with politics. Although revered as a god by her people, in 52 BC, when the Roman war machine threatened to invade, Cleopatra used the earthly weapon of seduction to save Egypt. She bore the great Julius Caesar a son. And if it hadn't been for his assassination by the Roman Senate, she would have ruled the vast empire by his side. When the Romans sent their general Marc Antony to subdue her, Cleopatra captured his heart with her sensual charms and vision of world conquest, and through this romantic and political alliance, she restored Egypt to its former glory. But in 30 BC, the Romans invaded Egypt and defeated Antony and Cleopatra. Unwilling to submit to imperial rule, she committed suicide. According to the Greco-Roman historian Plutarch, she died from the bite of an asp. Believed that Cleopatra experimented with poisons and would have known that the venom of the cobra, the very serpent that adorned the crest of the pharaoh's crown, was far deadlier, as well as a less painful way to die. With Cleopatra's death, The epic story of Egyptian history, spanning almost 4,000 years, came to an end. The pharaohs were dethroned, their temples left in eerie silence. The women pharaohs of antiquity brought Egypt great wealth and supremacy, masterfully using their femininity to realize their ambitions.
If we look today at the position of women in ancient Egypt, we'll find they had more rights than any woman in any place. I think today, women today in every country should take this as a model for making a better future.